Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Zwift Community Live broadcast of Workout Wednesdays with Coach Hendy. Coach Hendy's with us today, former professional world tour rider, five-time Olympian, current performance manager for USA Cycling, for road and the track cycling disciplines, actually. Coach Greg Henderson, thanks a lot for joining us in the broadcast today, and welcome to Workout Wednesdays. How's it going, Coach Hendy?
Hi, mate. Good to see you again. Everything's good.
Going good. Well, we're hanging on the pens here, about to get going, and it looks like we got threshold bumps. You want to give us a quick little intro to what that's all about?
Yeah, so this is like my favorite way of just keeping on top of your threshold work and actually giving it a little boost. There's nothing worse than having to sit on a desired wattage for 15-20 minutes and just hold that pace. And of course it works, but it can be a little bit mentally fatiguing. So this is basically a variation on the 40-20s, and you end up doing two 20-minute efforts, but it's 40 seconds on your threshold power and 20 seconds recovery, and that actually gives you 13, nearly 14 minutes on your threshold power. So it's a really good way, a really efficient way of holding that threshold power you've got or building it.
Awesome, great. Well, it looks like a great workout. Let's go ahead and get moving. And it looks like the pens are about to get going here. So start the pedaling up and get moving out on course here, as it looks like we are into workout mode. 120 watts for me. Now, each one of these riders that are with us are going to be experiencing a different wattage, but the same zones. If I'm correct about that, it's going to be based on their FTP, if that's right.
Absolutely.
Coach Hendy.
Yep. So she's like I said, it's a nice gradual warm up now. It's just 8 minutes, and then we have an activation sprint after a couple of easy minutes there, and that's just for the warm up. And then we'll head straight into the first effort, it's a 20-minute long effort, but like I said, it's 40 seconds on threshold, 20 seconds recovery. 40s, and to begin with, it'll feel nice and easy, kind of comfortable, and it's probably about the 10, 12, maybe 14-minute mark. You'll just start to feel that load coming on the legs, and that's where you start to get the real benefits from it.
Awesome. So activation sprint. What? I don't know if I like the sound of that for some reason. How is that going to feel? And it's this warm up too. This is a little deceiving sometimes, this gray, because whenever I see gray, I think easy, but these warm ups, they come at you kind of tricky once in a while too, though.
So I usually, this is how I would warm up for most races or most time trials and things like that. I just bring stuff just up to threshold, and then you take it back down for a couple of minutes recovery. And this activation sprint's just basically a short effort, not full gas. It's just to make sure the muscles are fully activated under load, and then you bring it back down again, and you get into your first effort. So it's not taxing. It's just to wake the muscles up, really.
Gotcha. So it looks like 20 seconds at 365 or so is what we're going to be throwing down. Really get the legs ready to go. All right, sounds good. And then we've got 20 by 40. So 20 seconds, 40 seconds. And that's 20 seconds rest, 40 seconds on. 20 seconds rest, 40 seconds on. Okay.
Gotcha. Exactly that. And it's like I said, it's an accumulation of fatigue. It's like the first 10 minutes, no problems. The first 12 minutes, okay, I'm still comfortable. And then you just start your third, you just get near the end of it, the last 5 minutes, you'll really start to feel that load coming into the legs.
Sounds good. And so the idea here then is like a 20-minute effort, but changing it up a little bit, so it's not so monotonous, it would sound like too.
Exactly that. Like I could get you to go and ride at 95% of your threshold, 3 by 15 minutes. And, of course you can do it, but there's much better ways of doing it. There's more fun ways of doing it. And this is one of them, like you're always ever changing pace. You're getting back on top of the gear, and you actually end up doing this for this session. We'll almost have 30 minutes at threshold. So it's a really good way. It's real easy on the mind to do some threshold work.
You're making 30 minutes at threshold sound easy. I don't know. It sounds all good up front. Here we go. Let's see what it ends up feeling like here.
That's the thing. If I asked my athletes, all right, guys, go out and ride 30 minutes at threshold, it's like a full-on time trial. Whereas all of a sudden now we're doing, we have close to 30 minutes and it won't even feel like it.
I would think also that because of the change-ups, people tend to maybe not overextend themselves.
Yeah.
Because I know for myself, I'm always trying to do that peak power effort. Like, you give me 15 minutes and I'm like, all right, I know what my 15 best is, and I'm going to really prove to myself that I'm a strong person and try and make this happen, or all that, all that feel good about yourself because you got a new peak power, etc. But this change up disciplines things a little bit, it seems like, too.
It's like a long-term progressive thing, like if we did this week, then maybe next week you could up the watts a little more or do a slightly longer effort. So it's a really nice way to introduce a rider into threshold training. And you don't want to get caught out too early. There's no prizes for being the hero out there, but I tell you what, if you get that threshold a little bit wrong to begin with, you'll start paying for it in the last couple of minutes.
And when you say longer, how far out can you extend these kind of efforts like this?
Yeah, well, you could either do 3 of them, tack another one on the end, or have been known to guys like Tony Martin, for example. He'll do 2 by 30 minutes. He's getting quite a long time at his threshold power there. So this is actually one of the favorites of Tony Martin, because even though as much as he loves time trialing, I guess he does so many threshold efforts that it's often nice to have some variation.
Yeah, another thing I think of then is what kind of training response am I getting by having this back off and coming back in, back off, coming back in? You could see some saying, well, is it as pure or all that kind of stuff? But I have a feeling that there's research showing that doing this is sometimes more beneficial in some ways.
I mean, I would look at it as, like I said, you are actually hitting that threshold power that is supposed to be the power that you can do for 1 hour, super fresh, like super motivated. But, you're constantly changing the rhythm of the time trial. So it has to be good for race simulation, race adaptation. Anytime you're changing the pace, you're doing more damage to the muscle fibers than just riding a normal, steady pace. So,
gotcha.
There's definitely benefits to it.
A little bit of that muscle confusion.
Exactly.
Gotcha. All right, well, heart rate's starting to respond a little bit here. 260s. Doesn't feel like gray. That's what I'm talking about. It tricks you a little bit with that gray bar. I think I'm not going to be working super hard, but the warm-up gets you. So I am using ERG mode. Are you on ERG, Hendy?
I'm on ERG, yep.
Gotcha. Right on. So it's going to force me to do the watts.
Exactly that, yeah. It's a good way. And if you do feel good, you don't go way above the wattage either. So it keeps you right on target.
24 seconds. Then it looks like we get a little reprieve before we get that activation going here. So 54 minutes total left. It's a little over an hour workout.
It's just bang on, basically. If you take off the cool down, that's 5 minutes. It's just 2 20-minute efforts with a bit of recovery in between.
Yeah, that warm up definitely got me going. Breathing a little bit here.
You're starting to breathe a little bit, exactly. So it's not an overly, you don't want to be sitting above threshold in your warm-up. Most warm-ups always just touch on and no more. And they don't have to be that long a warm-up. It's like, a lot of people I've seen from the track and the road background, they can be on rollers for like up to 45 to 50 minutes. And it's just wasting energy. It's like, if you did an effective warm-up, you can be done, ready to race within 15, 16 minutes and get ready to go.
Interesting. So a lot of times, maybe a little bit too much energy wasted on some of these pre-race warm-ups.
You notice that? I mean, so much research has been done by it now. When you look at the AIS, the Australian Institute of Sport, or Sky, or British Cycling, because it was always a question. Hang on, I'm going to go and race, say for example, the Teams Pursuit. It's 4 minutes. Why am I warming up for 45 minutes? And then all of a sudden, am I doing the right warm-up? Am I going hard enough or not? Am I going too hard? So it's, they did a lot of research, and they've, physiologically.
20 seconds here, quick.
Here we go, mate.
Here we go. 365. Really going to bump this heart rate now. All
Righto.
right. There we go.
Perfect.
Got the star. All about the stars. There we go.
Righto. So in a minute and a half, we'll start our first effort. And like I said, it should be nice and comfortable to begin with. Shouldn't be too much stress on the system. And then halfway through, we can reevaluate. See how life's treating us.
And again, we're using a group workout mode right now, so it's everybody's wattage is going to be different. Well, depending on what their FTP is, right? So today we set my FTP at 290. It looks like we're going to be doing spot on 290 FTP efforts for 40 seconds. That 20-second rest, right? So, but
Perfect.
Somebody else might have less wattage or more wattage, but they'll be traveling along with us and riding with us as a group for group workout modes. Pretty cool. What's that? The misery loves company. Is that what you always say, Hendy?
Misery loves company, mate. Absolutely. That's a great feature, isn't it? Like you can be training with any of your friends and it doesn't matter if they've got a threshold of 400 and yours is 300. It's like we're still at the same perceived effort.
All right, so here we go. 290. I'm going to hold for 40. Looks like.
Just nice and easy onto the pace. Shouldn't be too stressful to begin with. You can already see that banner in the distance. So it's just an accumulation of fatigue. And eventually, as we get through these efforts, you'll just start to feel them bite right on the tail end.
It's pretty cool having that constant banner up there too. Like keeping the mind engaged. Something about threshold efforts, it's like, the finish is so far out there, you can get discouraged in the middle of them because it's so painful.
Absolutely. If you're just doing a 20-minute threshold effort now, you're just riding around, not exactly beating your head against a brick wall because, Zwift has changed that game. But back in the day, I tell you, mate, in the garage, looking at a brick wall, doing your threshold efforts, times have changed now, haven't they?
Maybe banging my head against the handlebars, though. Oh, man.
I even jumped on the fast
for
bike.
These? What about cadence for these, Hendy?
If you're going to use them as a threshold effort, you don't want to be around that 90 RPM. It's like, it's not a strength effort. It's more or less a nice time trial. If it's not climbing, you're not out of the saddle. We've chosen the flat route, so it'll be a nice 90 sort of RPM around there within a couple,
Yeah, and if anyone's not using ERG, then the flat will help out with that, as they'll get the feeling in game if they do have a smart trainer that they're not using ERG with.
Okay, so we're already on our third one. You'll just notice the heart rate if you look at your graph down the bottom. Just doing those little variations the whole time. Up
It's
and
bumping
down,
up,
up and down.
little by little. You know,
Small cardiac drift. Absolutely.
We're getting Larry in the legs. Is that what we call it?
Some Larry. Yeah. Larry will turn up later.
So for those who are not familiar with Workout Wednesday, what are these guys talking about? Larry? Who's Larry? I just see Nathan and Hendy. Who's Larry, Coach Hendy?
Larry's Larry Lactate. He often comes and sees us during our workouts. It's often like a big gorilla that jumps on your back.
Oh my God.
That's Larry. That's Larry Lactate.
Larry the gorilla. Oh my gosh.
That's what it feels like when he turns up. All of a sudden you just become 200 kilograms heavier and about 40% less fit. Like, what the heck happened then? Yeah, Larry turned up.
And that was between you, the boys, and a few of the pro teams. You call it Larry out in training?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh, Larry, he can go home today if he wants. This is number 4. I'm getting a little cardiac drift myself.
Yeah, I've gone up 10 beats.
Yeah, nice.
The last 2 minutes, easily.
That's really good.
I think Nathan's getting fit though. Last Workout Wednesday, we would have definitely been 10 beats higher than this already, I think. So it's working.
Good on you.
I've been
Wish I could say the same.
Loading up Coach Hendy workouts here and there in my personal Zwift streaming and riding time. I've been like, all right, here we go. We're gonna get ready for Workout Wednesday.
I'm doing a little bit the same myself, actually. I definitely haven't been doing as much riding as I used to, so the old threshold just consistently drops. I was like, come on, man, get back on there.
Are you thinking about doing any events for motivation then? You know, that always helps me. You know, I haven't quit pro racing or retired, but took a break recently. The lack of events to shoot at, I just had like, why would I go suffer? What am I what am I suffering for?
Yeah.
Like as professional cyclists, I think we are so driven by the pressure of the competitions coming, I think, and performance, that we forget about just a little bit here and there, just for the sake of exercise, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. When I retired from professional cycling, I became very busy with my new job. And so I even dusted off the old running shoes, mate, just so I could go and go in 30 minutes, just so I didn't look like I'd been eating all the pork pies for lunch. So it's, but I think it's also almost like a little bit of a sanity thing. Like, I have to get out and exercise. I feel so much better for it. I feel better if I've had a good sweat. It's for sure the endorphin release and things like that. I think exercise is key.
Yeah, we were made to move. That's for sure. We were made to move, and we've so many benefits, so many good benefits, obviously. So, what number are we on? 7 out of 20? All right.
Yep. We're inching up towards that halfway zone now, which is nice. My heart rate's gone up 15 since the first one, so I'm right in that threshold zone now, constantly hovering around my threshold heart rate.
All right, here we go. Another one, 40 seconds.
Here we go. Number 8. Very good.
Love the change up.
Nice.
I'm so used to just suffering through threshold.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? You know, like, and you know, at the end of the day, you're still going to have close to 30 minutes of solid work on your threshold. Really specific training. Yeah, it's a nice feeling to know that you're hitting those numbers consistently.
I almost feel like the speed bump too. The little bit of a kick you have to give to go back up to threshold is a
Absolutely.
good change up too, where it reminds your muscles of speed and force a little bit in the midst of it all.
That's good, yeah, exactly. And then, you know, there's the very violent efforts that we do for VO2 max. They're 10 minutes of this, but it'll be 10 minutes, 120% of threshold for 40 seconds and recovery. So you're really getting a lot of VO2 work, a lot of power, and of course a lot of lactate. So it's the complete effort. It's like full VO2. It covers just about, touches every base, and it gets you really ready for race season.
Yeah, the breathing's definitely starting to happen here though.
Yeah.
Here we go. It's always that halfway point if you tempered it right during a threshold effort.
Absolutely. Seems. I think we've got it bang on. That was number 9. So here comes number 10 now. Yeah. Breathing heavier. Just starting to feel.
Who's really suffering, Hendy, they can adjust if they need to, right?
Absolutely. And what you'll find happens there, Nathan, is it's often the heart rate sometimes responds, but the legs just don't want to. So if you've got an idea of your heart rate threshold, there's no problem to just drop the watts on the left-hand side of the screen there, and you can run it all the way down to 90% of your threshold. So it's such a nice and handy piece of equipment there. A little bit of bailout.
Yeah, so on the far left there, next to the intervals, guys and gals, if you do need to up or lower, you can do so with those little up and down arrows so that you can have a good day, bad day. If you're having a super stellar day, you want to retest.
Sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes you're pushing 110 and the heart rate's not climbing. It's like, chances are we do a retest, you know. We've got that threshold bump that we're after.
What kind of fluctuations can you see from good days to bad days, though? I mean, they can be pretty big.
Mate, I mean, I could tell some stories about the Tour de France when you're on a bad day.
I would love to hear it. I think everybody would love to hear that.
Mate, it's almost like you're looking down at your power meter and just going, I probably should not even be a professional bike rider. the amount of watts I'm doing right now. And yet, you know, I just literally cannot force myself to go any harder. It's just a bizarre feeling. And then, you know, you'll suffer like anything through that day, and you may wake up in the next morning, oh wow, I actually feel better today. And I remember speaking to a couple of our physiologists about it. I said, how is it when you have a bad day about 15 or 16 days into the tour, and then the next day you feel better? Because what actually happens, you're in such a fatigued state that you can't go hard, so you don't actually do any muscle damage. You can't actually put out, you know, upper climb your 360, 400 watts to hang on. It's like you're 100 watts less, so you haven't done the muscular fatigue. So then you wake up the next morning, if you manage to sleep okay, and yeah, it's like almost something clicked, something changed, and you just pray that you don't have any more bad days.
Hiding those bad days in the midst of the biggest bike race in the world, over 3 weeks has to be difficult.
It's normally an accumulation, like you've done a few things wrong inadvertently over the last 3 or 4 days, whether it's you haven't hydrated properly, you haven't eaten enough after or that night. It's normally accumulation of, if you went back and looked at what actually happened, you would see, okay, that makes sense. It's not out of the ordinary. I didn't drink, or it was a super hot day, or, whatever, for whatever reason. But if you have a super bad day out of nowhere, it can be a really bad sign also, because it can mean you're getting sick. And the two things you want to...
I think there's a lot of interest in this, actually, because I have all these questions. Like, are you eating in the middle of the night? How regimented is your schedule to make sure that everything's happening how it should? Is it all written down? Is it all planned out minute by minute, hour by hour, as much as you can? Is it lax?
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, really?
Pretty much hour by hour. You know exactly as soon as you get off the bike and onto the bus. They've even started incorporating warm downs now, where you'll chuck the bike on the rollers and do 15 minutes of pedaling, and then straight on the bus for some food as we do a transfer to the next hotel, then straight into massage. While you're waiting for your massage, you may be snacking at the food room, and then we have a chef on tour with us who always cooks up a beautiful meal for us. And if you get everything, if you tick every box, take good care of yourself, don't crash, don't get sick, you'll make it through. Sickness and crashing are the ones
I would think that controlled environment of putting the bike on the trainer forces someone who might be post-race endorphin high all over the place to focus in, get your recovery drink, what's next, and get you kind of organized almost. It's almost militant.
Absolutely. And you take, for example, say we've done the lead out for Greipel, and for the last 5Ks, it's been absolutely flat stick. You're so full of lactic acid that the worst thing you could do is just stop and get on the bus, especially after having done the last 500 meters, at 70k an hour sort of thing. And the same for Greipel. Say, for example, he wins the stage or something goes wrong. While he's on the rollers, warming down with his recovery drink, that's when he can do his interviews, the first time the reporters can get to him. And it sort of kills two birds with one stone.
That's great. So, you find yourself sleeping like a baby then during the tour? Or is it up in the middle of the night? Or just
the first couple of weeks you sleep really good. And then I think it's like that feeling of when you're so fatigued, you think all you want to do is sleep. You just lie there, tossing and turning, It's bizarre. It's so hard to explain. You're dead dog tired, yet you can't sleep.
Ooh. All right, we're starting to get her now. Yeah. Here we go.
Larry's here.
Man. Larry's here. Larry is knocking on the door.
Larry is in the building.
Oh, man.
Not that easy talking at 170 heart rate either.
No. Not very, it's not very easy at all. Whew. That's what the music's for. Let's pump it. Here we go.
Yes. Nice. Keep an eye on that RPM. Nice cadence. You're into the grippy end of the effort now. 3 to go. This is where it really starts to bite. This is where you get the really good benefits. Nice.
So, we can find these workouts. Is this one that's available at CoachHendy.com?
Absolutely, yeah. If you head on over there, you can get a whole structured program written out for you for 4 weeks. Pick and choose.
I'm assuming this is threshold, FTP, or time trialist type workout more?
Exactly, it's nice. And then there's obviously graduated levels, you know, anywhere from 1 of these efforts right up to 4 of these efforts, you know, depending on your level of athlete that you are. So it's like I said, definitely one of my favorite ways to do your threshold work.
I'm loving these rests.
Right.
They're very
nice.
Welcome.
Just in time. Well, they arrived just in time.
Now, is there more? I could see this workout leaning toward the ability also to do back-to-backs or even 3 in a row days. I would think there's like maybe even, like you said, a graduated program that maybe has higher stress points on it where we go higher in the wattage over threshold and maybe not come down quite as low. I see a lot of 40 by 20s like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's another way of doing it. It's what I decided to focus on today was just absolute time at your threshold.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's other ways where maybe you go a little under, but your recovery is still at 75% of threshold, so you're not really getting that great recovery. Or like I've mentioned before, shorten up the effort time and do more power, you know, 120, 125% of your FTP, and that gives you that massive lactate capacity.
Those ones get painful, that's for sure. Oh boy. I'm kind of glad we're not doing that. I'm good with that.
But this is a nice training effort. It's perfect, you know, there's something to build on. It's a nice way of putting some time on the trainer, a nice way of staying fit, but not super stressful. You don't have to fear the efforts. That's one big thing, is like, there's nothing worse than getting on and just being like nervous of the efforts that are coming up. This one, you know, okay, I'm going to handle this, no problem, but it is going to hurt towards the end.
And get a good training response still. That is something.
Beautiful training response.
I think a lot of self-coached athletes fall into is fear of their workouts because they're always pushing themselves so much.
Absolutely. That's where like a good coach can come in and go, hey, look, mate, trust in the program, trust in the process. You don't have to flog yourself every single day to get gains. It's just a matter of being consistent and having it done with your correct thresholds calculated. Yeah, and not being afraid to just have trust in the person who's written that program, because, you know, he or she has written that program before and seen the benefits.
So a little bit, you know, in our intro we chatted about, you know, a former World Tour pro rider, a 5-time Olympian, but a little something added on there, performance manager for USA Cycling on the road and track cycling disciplines. So that's pretty recent. You want to enlighten some of us about what that's all about, what you've been up to? I saw some pretty cool podiums, I thought, over on Instagram here and there, and hanging out with some youth, it looked like, as well.
Yeah,
here
absolutely.
and there on the track. So what's going on, Coach Hendy, with all that?
Yeah, so I just recently took on the job as performance manager at USA Cycling along with Jamie Staff, Christian Armstrong, and myself. Will help direct and guide the national team riders that have, you know, qualified for their discipline, be it road or be it track. So I currently manage 15 USA riders, and it's more or less about aiding them in their pathway to success. It's not like I have to come in and dictate, you know, what training they do, what races they do. because a lot of them are professional anyway. So it's a lot of working with their trainers, helping them progress. If they need some time on the track for some aerodynamic testing, if they need a physio in a different country, you know, it's that person that you can turn to and go, hey, Hendy, I've got a bung knee. Who should I see in, you know, whatever country? And so then that becomes my job. Okay, righto, rider X has got this sort of injury. I then relay it on to, you know, Jim Miller, for example, or the bosses at USA Cycling. And we put in a plan that will get this rider back to, you know, racing capabilities again. But at the moment, I'm heavily involved with the endurance men, the team's pursuit and the Omnium. And, you know, we're on a mission to qualify for the Olympic Games. We've already made some really nice gains in our time. And then at our last World Cup, we were just on that 3:59 pace for 4 kilometers. So that was a record by a long shot. And then the Omnium rider, Dan Holloway, between the two of us, we decided on what sort of tactics to come up with. And he went on and he won the gold medal at the World Cup for the Omnium. So it was a fantastic last day of competition for us.
Amazing results. Pretty cool. Very cool. I'm glad to hear it. Sounds like super rewarding for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing too. You know, as you leave as an athlete, you still need those. You still need that roller coaster. You know, that the ups and the downs, the highs and lows, and you really get this from coaching these guys on the track. They're so ambitious, so determined. It's really good to see the level of commitment they have. And then, yeah, sometimes we get it wrong, but we come back, we learn from our mistakes, and hopefully we get it right the next time. So it's a work in progress. Like we said, it's a 3-year plan through to Tokyo Olympics, and that's our goal there, is qualify the team for the Olympic Games. I mean, it's really easy to say, hey, let's go out and get a medal at the Olympic Games, but you know, realistically, let's qualify the Olympic Games then. If we've qualified, we're going to be one of the fastest teams, you know, on the boards. So that's when you maybe think, okay, maybe a medal is up for grabs. But no, it's an interesting journey.
That's always been really intriguing to me. And I think a lot of people, that idea of planning out 4 years from one Olympics to the next, and how do you get a team of riders or a rider or an athlete to that place where they can be the fastest in the world on that day? And how do you develop that talent, find that talent, identify it, coach it, grow it, you know what I mean? Water it all, give it all the resources that it needs over that kind of period of time. I mean, I think a lot of people have this idea of talent is what drives everything, but in reality, there's so much grooming that goes on personally, as well as the team that comes around you, I would think, for that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Talent alone is not going to make it happen.
No, exactly. So it's like we alluded to before, if you trust the process, if you trust the coach, and just make marginal gains each time you get on the velodrome, you know, keeps everybody inspired, keeps everyone happy. Then you might send them off after the World Cups and the World Champs. They each go to their respective pro teams, get in a nice big roadblock. We maybe meet up again a couple of times during the year, and then we start it all again in the next World Cup series. Speaking of starting it all again.
Yeah, here we go.
Away.
Gotta trust. Time to trust. It's time to trust the coach. Here we go.
Starting to doubt him. Not that happy with him.
That rest was very welcome. Solid 6 minutes
Nice.
there. But now it's time to keep the cadence up.
Lift that heart rate back up. See what sort of drift we get on this effort.
Should be a little higher, I would think, right?
Yeah, should be some accumulated fatigue.
Yeah, immediately I'm almost to where we were after 10 of them. So definitely a little bit of fatigue. Totally normal. I think some people don't always understand cardiac drift and how it plays out and how power helps so much because of that, because of cardiac drift and because of the variation of heart rate. That's right, Andy, I think.
It's nice, yeah. There can be a number of factors sitting in. Like this, I just took a drink, then I was just thinking, I haven't touched my water bottle since I started, and that can actually be one of the major causes of cardiac drift. A little bit of dehydration. But no, it's just the body's response to accumulated fatigue. Your heart has to do more, pump the blood around faster. That's where you get your benefits and your gains from.
Before power, I always, I'm pretty sure I did everything wrong because I was based everything on heart rate, and you ended up producing so much less muscular stress at certain times and so much more than needed at other times because of how slow of a response rate the heart rate is. And it's not the best objective material. It is good material, I would think, but maybe not the best. Hey, Hendy?
I think the problem is with the heart rate is, yeah, it does take 2-3 minutes before you actually will hit that heart rate that you're going to sit at for the whole effort. So if you start out and you're like, I've got to get my heart rate up to 170, 175. So you go out flat stick and you may be way over threshold power. Finally, your heart rate comes up and it goes way beyond what you're supposed to be sitting at. So it was it was obviously one of the first variables that was easily tracked. And of course it played a really important role in training, interval training, etc. But now with a power meter, it just takes the guesswork out. If you're very accurate with your testing, if you're accurate with your, VO2 max and your threshold power, then a power meter, we always used to say the numbers will never lie, unfortunately. You're either doing the wattage or you're not.
All right, we're doing it. At least ERG is making sure we're doing it. Remember to spin, spin, spin. Don't get into that cycle that ERG can get you into, those who are using it. Ooh.
Good. All right, it's 4 done. Oh, wow.
So, you got any events you're thinking about then, Hendy, for next year?
For, as in?
Just for fun, or?
I haven't planned. I haven't actually planned that far in advance, to be honest. I'm going to shoot off to the World Champs with the track team.
Well, there's an event, right? Although
that's
you're not racing it, but
I'm not racing. I'll be there coaching there, and then so that's in the end of February in Apeldoorn in Holland, and then it's sort of a bit of a downtime straight after February, sorry. And then we sort of put a plan in place for, the coming 3-4 months. We'll have some more talent ID camps located in Colorado Springs. So it'll be a busy year. It's going to be a year of, learning and developing, and just not so much stressing about results too much, just as long as we're on the right pathway. G'day, Larry. How are you, mate?
A little more this time around.
Yep.
It feels a little bit more like 10 or 15 in when we're only 5 in.
Yep. Perfect. Great fitness pump though. Great threshold boost. And like you said, the acceleration on and off of wattage is really, really key. Puts a little bit more pressure on the muscle fibers. It just gets you a little bit more, not race ready, but able to sustain any kind of acceleration. We're number 7 now.
So pretty amazing, all the people here that can interact in this space with these group workouts like this. And for those of you who are maybe tuning in for the first time, this is a Workout Wednesdays focused on the Americas region. We'll be doing these every Wednesday. So make sure to hit that follow button, show up, be on the lookout for Workout Wednesdays on the Zwift mobile link for both Europe and Americas. We'll be here every Wednesday for Workout Wednesdays. It's a different, well, maybe not always a different workout. There is a good thing to repeatability, I would think, as well. But
absolutely,
variation
nice
coming here and there.
Be nice to come and revisit this in 2 weeks' time. See what sort of power increase we have.
As long as you're not racing too much out on Zwift.
Exactly. But typically, it'll be like a threshold workout, strength workout, and a power workout, and then we'll sort of rotate and go back to the threshold, back to the strength, back to the power. And we can sort of do 3 to 4 week cycles where we're touching on sort of every facet of cycling and sort of every engine that you have.
All right, almost halfway there. Here we go, 40 more. 40 more seconds.
All right. You can see your heart rate's dropping nicely in that rest. You must be pretty fit, Nath.
Yeah, we might use the percentages there a little bit. We want to keep talking. We want to put on a good show.
Nice.
Gotta be able to talk.
Absolutely. I just
Everybody
blame it
else
on the
is
altitude.
like totally silent, unable to chat even, not typing. What the heck? Hendy and Nathan are insane.
Definitely. Sometimes do question myself. I am a bit insane.
Like riding, what was it, 8K? Did you ride 8K feet in one, no, meters?
6,000 meters.
6,000 meters in one ride. You get your trial bike yet, Hendy?
I haven't yet, no.
Oh.
It's coming. So it's Christmas.
Oh man, speaking of, that's motivation to get the charm bike.
There we go. I'm just trying to get to that blue banner right now.
There you go.
That's what I'm focusing on.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Halfway there.
Good job. And on.
Yeah, so all about the stars. We got perfect stars so far. Good thing. And that's
Beautiful.
kind of one of the things that holds you accountable to the coach's program, right? Like you wrote this, we were able to put it directly in to Zwift as a ZWO file. And then the stars hold you accountable. If you get them all, you did it right and you didn't overdo it, underdo it, and you could stick to the plan, which is a really great thing about these group workouts as well as workout mode. It really holds you accountable to sticking to it.
Absolutely. The erg mode's nice for that though too. Like we talked about, you can't overdo it. Can't get too ambitious early on, because that's the worst thing that can happen on one of these type of efforts. you've just gone out a little bit too hard in that first, 5 or 6 minutes. You really start to tie up. You may have to drop the wattage, and you're not quite getting exactly what we wanted out of this type of training day.
All right, 10 more seconds. Here we go.
Here we go. Nice.
So as pre-recorded material here, where are you at in the world right now while the viewers are watching?
I'm in Boulder, Colorado. So that's why my heart rate's so high, mate.
Next week though, where are you going to be at during?
Next week I'll be.
That's right. Yeah. So you're actually doing the workout at elevation, is what?
Yeah, that's.
Oh man, what is your elevation right now?
It's like 5,500, 6,000 feet.
Oh boy.
But once you're acclimatized to it, there's no real excuse other than being unfit.
There you go. So, but next week you're going to be somewhere across the pond, I think.
Yeah. Next week is the next World Cup. So I go to Poland for training camp, and then we scoot off to Belarus, of all places, for the fifth and final round of the World Cup.
What day is that on?
The World Cup is 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting.
So make sure to follow along, everybody out there. If you're interested in cheering on the USA or making sure you're cheering on your country, because Hendy's going to be over there pushing those boys and girls to kill it the next World Cup. And that's why we're doing pre-recorded material here for you with Workout Wednesday.
Number 14 of 20. I just passed you, mate. Grab the wheel.
Oh, come on. Now I got to up it. Let's up the percentage. No.
Come on, mate. On the wheel.
So with group workout, you guys are all able to stay together. Since me and Greg Henderson here jumped in together to do the workout for this pre-recorded session, he's now egging me on to catch him through the workout. Here we go. Oh boy.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah. We upped it to 100%. We got him.
Oh, nice. 25 to go.
Now the heart rate, though, it's going to make it so we can't talk. 5 to go. Here we go, boys and girls. We got it.
Heart rate took a nice bump. This is where you feel the benefits now. 5 to go. You almost see that finish line. Legs are just starting to tie up. It's a good session. Nice. Righto. Take your recovery. Here comes the next banner. The banner of death. Here she goes. Nice. Gently ease onto the power again. 30 seconds left. Heart rate's sitting right on threshold. Power, bang on my threshold. Good session.
So is there form as well that we can focus on during these efforts in my pedal stroke?
Right. Absolutely. When pedaling's very important, you know, like I said, to keep the cadence. If we're trying to simulate time trial type effort, you don't want to get too bogged down. It's really important to stay on top of the gear. You don't have to be doing 110 120 RPM. You know, we save that for some O2 workouts or some sprint stuff. So now it's just about concentrating on just ease onto that power. You know, don't attack the 40 seconds. Don't be afraid for it to take 2 or 3 seconds to get onto power, and just really concentrating, holding nice, smooth upper body and a full pedal stroke. That's basically the key to it. Now we can see the finish line. A matter of just hanging on and biting in, getting to the finish. Nice.
So 90 is the sweet spot. Now, flat foot.
Fun.
This whole idea of a correct pedal stroke too. I think a lot of people might push the pedals incorrectly, and there's going to be a lot of elite enthusiasts and then maybe newcomers to cycling. What's a good pedal stroke look like, Hendy?
Well, when I was a kid, we used to do a lot of work on the pedal stroke. It's more about engaging your glutes and your hamstring. So we do a lot of efforts where we wouldn't hold on to the handlebars, and it forced you could just rest your hands on the handlebars, but not actually grip them and not pull. So we just rest the hands on the handlebars, and we'll do strength efforts like 5 minutes, 5x5 at 50 RPM, but no upper body movement, no gripping with the hands on the handlebars, and making sure that you could do a complete pedal stroke. And I incorporate these sort of efforts in my training programs because it changes your pedal stroke. Within 3 or 4 sessions, your pedal stroke's completely changed. It's just a neuromuscular pathway that you're opening. Once your body learns it, you become so much more efficient at pedaling than if you just, stomp the pedals. We did a lot of it just because
more
we did so much.
More power,
exactly.
I would think, too.
Absolutely, you become so much more efficient. The same power.
Wow.
Righto, mate.
Oh, boy.
Hey, what's that one to go? Here it is.
Looking forward to that. Here we go.
We've done well.
Controlled.
Perfect session.
Let me try a little bit of that light on the hands. Been rocking too much. I'm doing my mountain biking.
Yeah. I guess that's a lot different to track cycling and road cycling though, where you want to try and force
every bit of energy. There's a little bit of efficiency though. There's good efficiency, like, especially with full suspension bikes now, like, you'll just sit and pedal is a reality to the fastest way to get power to the ground. A lot of change-ups have happened. It seems like what the fastest way is to ride a mountain bike, cross country at least, where you can just sit and pedal through everything because they're so good now.
Good job. There it goes, mate.
That was a good workout. A really good workout.
That's a really efficient way of keeping the fitness and just touching on that FTP, giving it a little bump in the upward direction. It's, like I said, so efficient. 2 efforts. You don't need much more than that unless you're training for big tours. That's a really fast and semi-comfortable way of doing some threshold work.
You know what's interesting, Hendy, is I feel like I just got done doing 2x20s. But
just as much fatigue, yeah?
Wow.
Absolutely. And that's like we talked about with those micro accelerations. Onto power, off power, onto power. It's just all about accumulated fatigue and triggering that fatigue response. How's your body going to adapt to it? How's your body going to cope with it? And you'll find the next time you do these efforts, we just be that couple of percent easier where you can see, okay, the adaptations have started to take place.
So you were saying that in the process of these workouts, you have a cycle that you do. So, looking forward to the next Workout Wednesday. What do you think we got a little cool down here for another 3 minutes or so. What are we looking at? We got some amazing benefits here for threshold. What do you think's coming up next?
I was thinking we might just try some good old-fashioned strength training and a few variations on.
Like off my bike doing like squats and things, or do we have a gym? Is there a Zwift gym? We got running, so no.
Yeah, then we start throwing some fat tin around. I think next week we'll work a little bit on our pedaling technique, our strength endurance. So that's at the low RPM and the big gear, and we'll do a nice session of strength training next week.
Great. Awesome. So threshold here, really good threshold workout. Another 2.5 minutes or so. Cool down. Ooh.
Down now. About 50% of your FTP. Just to roll a bit of lactic out of the legs. Get rid of Larry.
And as far as like specializing goes, is this this workout then is the TT specialist? What are those power workouts we're talking about then? Are those more of the climbers workout? Are they good for everything? What are those focusing in on?
So I've got the ones we did a couple of weeks ago. I did a explosive power delivery, which is kind of simulates that rush into the base of a climb, and then you hit the climb at threshold with your team or whatever, and then following an attack. So that's another way of hitting some good power and some good lactic acid. And then there's your VO2 max stuff, which is really quite grippy, shorter efforts, more power. And then of course we've done the lead out simulation as well, where you pretend that you're a sprinter on a lead out train as the power gradually gets higher and higher and higher through the last 15 seconds, and you unleash. And we would do a lot of those before every major race. We'd get the team together and we'd do a series of lead outs so that the high threshold, the high power didn't tax the body so much when the guy in front of you was doing his lead out. So it's it just depends also what stage you're out of training. At the moment, if you took on a personal coach, you might be working on, okay, let's just build up the base and your strength endurance. So it might be a bit more strength work than threshold work. And then, after 3 weeks of strength, we might move into, okay, let's now start to touch on some FTP work, give that a little boost. And you may do another 2 weeks of, predominantly threshold stuff. It's just it's getting that combination, just picking out, the weaknesses and the strengths of a rider and working on the areas that you believe need to be worked on.
Yep, so it sounds like we're going to be touching on each of the foundational sections then
Absolutely.
That we need to. Really good. Awesome. Well, I look forward to that. Definitely. Take a quick look at the loadout screen we're going to get here. It looks like I got all the stars.
Good job,
everybody
mate.
else did too. We're doing it right. Look at that screen. Ride report. We got 64 TSS. I think I had more. I backed it off a little bit in the middle that I can see on my graph. It's a little bit low at those. I think it's number 8 through maybe 14 on the second set. And then you came up on me and I was like, all right, time to bump it up a little bit here. But solid effort, great workout. You can find these workouts all at CoachHendy.com, right? We were saying that's the place to find these?
Absolutely. Yeah, log on there and have a nosy round. Have a couple of reads of my blog, see what I've been up to.
Oh, great. We can keep up on news too. That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, and then you choose whether you want to work on your sprint, your time trial, or your climbing, and select the appropriate program. And we've got, literally hundreds of these programs loaded on there
And these are all programs, Coach Hendy, that were used throughout your career in racing as a professional cyclist, as well as some stuff that you gleaned from the other riders that you're around as a lead out man for the likes of like Greipel and stuff.
Absolutely. You know, I went on one of my last years of riding before I retired. I went around and asked half a dozen guys, you know, what's your favorite workout? What would your key workout be? You know, so there's the likes on there. You'll have the Sir Wiggo or the Rowan Dennis special or the Dose of Dowsett or something like that, you know. So there's a lot of really specific and favorite workouts from some of my mates in the peloton.
Awesome. That's so great. So great. Great to have you here. Great to have this great resource here, Coach Hendy. We really appreciate all the work you're doing here with us to get Workout Wednesdays going. And we look forward to seeing you live in the coming weeks. But good luck at the next World Cup. Hope it goes really well. Mate. And we'll see you for Workout Wednesday, hopefully in the following weeks to come.
Sounds good, mate. Really appreciate it.
Sounds good. Cheers, Greg.
See you guys.
All right, so that was Coach Hendy. Remember, you can find all of those workouts over at coachhendy.com. And we just did a little threshold bump. That was a good workout, guys. Got a solid 2 by 15-ish, kind of 30 minutes at threshold. And really feeling it. So make sure to jump in with us next week as well. We'll see you guys in a week or two for Workout Wednesday. And again, my name is Nathan Garrett, coming at you from Zwift Community Live. If you haven't done so already, head on over to our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Zwift Community Live. Hit that follow button for any time we go live for any Zwift content here on ZCL. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Great job in the workout, everybody, and hope to see you in the next one. Right on.